Hey, what's up, metalheads? It's Richie Cavallera Insight, and you're watching CMS TV. Keep it heavy.
That is Queensryche right here on your classic metal show from my personal favorite album from the band, Promised Land, and that was a song called Damaged. And speaking of damaged, we finally get the chance to set the record straight with a guy who probably feels like his career and his legacy has been damaged over the last 6 months, the one and only Geoff Tate. Geoff Tate, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Chris.
Excellent.
How are you?
I'm good, man. Well, Geoff, obviously, man, probably the most tumultuous period of your career. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, yeah. I've had a few, but this one is definitely up there in the record books.
Definitely. Well, Geoff, I don't want to only focus on the split, but obviously we got to ask those questions. So there's so much that's public that I don't want to get to, but I guess the place to start with that would be to just kind of get your opinion of, do you think that you've been wronged by the way this split has gone and the way that the name has been taken and whatnot?
Well, yeah, it's definitely not been handled in a way that I would have handled it, It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's actually kind of madness from my point of view. Queensryche is an entity and a band, a brand, so to speak, that has been incredibly successful over the years. Not too many bands have had a 30-year career. And I've always tried to conduct myself with elegance, the dignity, regarding the music and as a representative of the band and the name. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why you would take this very successful entity and grind it into the dirt. Drag it through the mud by handling, this kind of thing the way that it's been handled. Especially, since, we're all guys in our 50s, and realistically we probably have, 10 more years of productive work ahead of us.
Sure. Why
on earth at this point in one's career would you destroy the thing that you built, and have to start all over again?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sure.
So yeah, I wish we could have all sat in a room and discussed it as gentlemen, civilized people, and come up with a game plan as to how to handle everything and how to make it work or how to unravel it in a dignified way.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this, Geoff, because there's so many rumors that are out there, and I'm sure you've heard them all, and I know you've addressed some of them, but let me just put it out there just more to ask if there was such a behind-the-scenes bubbling that just ended up on the stage. And, I mean, there's all the rumors about Brazil and a knife, and there's obviously the video of you spitting at Scott and whatnot out there. So, how much of this had been building to the point where it kind of spilled onto the stage?
Well, that's the very strange thing about it. There never was any discussion. There never was any band meeting where, issues were brought up that, would give one thought to that the situation was at this point of desperation. It all was handled underhandedly and behind closed doors and secret meetings and this kind of thing, and then just kind of sprung on me,
Mm-hmm.
And that is just humiliating, and shocking, and honestly offensive.
Sure.
That somebody would do that, especially for somebody I'm talking about, or guys that I've grown up with and spent time, amazing amounts of time with and had relationships with, and our families have grown up together and all this, and to treat people the way they did was just incredibly distasteful and offensive.
Sure.
Employees that we've had working for us for 10, 15 years, to fire them without even a discussion, but just, coldly write them a letter from an attorney that says you're terminated. That's that's not how you work with people. That's not how you constructively, maintain relationships. That's just burning a bridge right there and setting everything on fire and walking away.
Sure. Now, do you when you look at it right now, one of the things that that the band is out there saying, and they release demos and whatnot to try and back up this claim, was that you personally kind of took control of the entire direction of the music in the last, well, at least the last 3 or 4 albums, with American Soldier and with Dedicated to Chaos and what have you, and a few before that. Is that a true assessment, or is that them, trying to maybe build themselves a bridge to the fans, saying, hey, we're going to take it back to the old school sound, and that's why you should join our camp instead of Geoff's camp?
Well, I think that what that is a desperate play at justifying one's actions. You have to have a reason why you do something. They paint the picture that you're doing something with justification. All I can really say is there's 3 of them and 1 of me, and the way our organization works is by voting. So if they wanted to do something a certain way, all they would have had to do was bring it to somebody's attention, bring it to the group's attention at a meeting, and say, well, look, simply we outvote you. There's nothing I can do about that. If they vote for, going in some certain musical direction, then I have to go along with it. The point is we couldn't operate that way. With me dictating everything. I mean, if they wanted to move in a musical direction, then where's the material to back it up? You can release demos and that kind of thing all day long, but if I've never heard the demos, there's nothing much I could do with them.
Sure.
It's just a mess. It's a desperate play for justification, really.
Sure, definitely. Well, Geoff, obviously with you leaving the band, with you leaving that band, we'll say, now you have 2 bands. Now you have your solo project, which I'm going to assume was in the works. Is that correct?
Well, I've been trying to make another solo record for years, and Queensryche was always my priority, where I put all my energies. So my solo work continuously got put on the back burner, in favor of Queensryche Records.
Mm-hmm.
So New Year's, I was sitting around with some family and friends, and everyone's toasting, making New Year's resolutions, and I stood up and made the resolution that I was going to make a solo record this year, no matter what.
Okay.
And so January 2nd, I started working on it and writing and recording, and finished it in July. And it was a great project, very smooth and organized, and I got to work at my pace rather than having to wait for other people to catch up. And that was fantastic. I got to play with musicians at the same time, everybody sitting in the same room together and writing and throwing ideas out. So that was a real pleasure. I haven't made a record like that, and God, I can't even remember how long. So yeah, a lot of really good feelings, surrounding this record.
Okay, now with the first single that everybody's heard, "Dark Money," sounds like it could fit on Dedicated to Chaos. To be honest, I mean it's sort of in that same vein musically. Is that kind of the direction that that the rest of the record is in, or is that just one note of many in a 12-song album?
Well, it's not my job to describe music,
Okay.
And that's why I'm a musician, because I think describing music to other people is very difficult. In fact, I think it's impossible. I think music is one of those things that you have to experience personally. I think somebody's just going to have to listen to the record, really, and come up with their own feelings about it. And I respect that. I don't expect people to like everything I write or to agree with everything I say. Those are really false expectations. That as an artist and as a writer, there's only one way to go, and that's to write from your heart. You write about what you feel passionate about. Things that are important to you, and that's what you focus on. But Dark Money is is one song on the record, and there's many different songs on the record as well. And, you know, Dedicated to Chaos, for example, is a collection of very different songs. You know, there's some very metal type songs on there. There's some really delicate ballads. There's some electronic stuff that's very different on the record. There's a classical piece on the record. There's lots of different stuff, you know, on that record as well. So to say that Dark Money fits in there, I don't quite see that, other than maybe you're speaking of a certain sound or a style or something like that you see that it resembles, you know, something on that record.
Hey, you. Why are you watching this with commercials? Go commercial-free and unlock exclusive content. Become a VIP today on Locals, Substack, or Rumble Premium. Stop waiting.
Yeah, well, it's more, I mean, it's a socially conscious thing, which you've been tackling basically for your whole career, but obviously Dedicated to Chaos had some social messaging as well. And I don't know, just the overall vibe of it seemed to vibe very similarly to that direction. I don't know. For me personally, listening to Chaos, it's got a vibe all the way through it. It doesn't sound disjointed. It sounds complete from A to B. And I don't know. I'm about as bad at describing it as anybody, but for me personally, that's more what I'm saying is this song feels like it could fit in there because it does tackle the same type of a social message, and it also has that same mid-tempo vibe that so much of Dedicated did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, I can see your point. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. You know, I think one of the things that fascinates me about music is what I've learned and what I've observed in my career is that everyone hears it different. You know, everyone interprets music differently. And like you can set, you know, a group of people in an audience and have them listen to an orchestra piece and then interview them afterwards, and they're all going to tell you different things about it. You know, some people can listen to the music and pick out every instrument. You know, they can follow the melody lines and they're aware of the rhythm changes and things like that. And other people hear it as a wall of sound.
Right.
You know, and then also lyrical, you know, content, it's the same thing. Typically, people interpret music based upon their own personal experiences, and a song will speak to somebody and affect them because they have been through a similar situation, you know, and maybe it actually completes their thought about their own situation in a way, you know.
Sure.
And if they haven't experienced that same situation, they're not going to relate to the song in the same fashion, you know, or the same way. And I find that to be incredibly interesting. Like, I'll talk to people, you know, about, you know, music that I've written over the years, and they'll tell me stories of, you know, how a song has affected them, and they'll be talking to me about what the song is about. And honestly, about 8 times out of 10, they're interpreting it very differently than what I meant it to be, you know.
Sure.
But I think that's kind of cool. You know, it's not all concrete, black and white. It's like life. There's so many different facets to it and so many different ways you can experience it.
Right. Music's about personal memories, not necessarily the lyrics on the page.
Yeah, definitely. At first, when that started happening to me years ago, I was very disappointed because I thought, oh my God, my ideas are not getting across.
Right.
You know, I got to analyze my writing style here and get more concrete with it or something, you know. But then I just came to the conclusion that, you know, no matter how you look at it or how much you try to shape it in a certain way, people just aren't going to get it the same way. In fact, I was having this conversation with this guy backstage at the show, and he was telling me, you know, his experiences with one of the songs, and he really had a lot of feeling about what he was talking about. But he didn't tell me what song it was. And you know, I said to him finally, I said, well, you know, gosh, I really appreciate the story, but I didn't hear what you said. Which song is it that you're talking about? And he said, oh, Silence in Tennessee. God, that's your best song ever. I love that song. I didn't have the heart to tell him that wasn't the title.
Silence in Tennessee. That's good. Well, Geoff, obviously, man, you've got the solo project, and you're out on tour with doing the solo stuff. But now you have a new version of Queensryche that you've put together, and it's with name guys that most people, in my realm know, as far as Bobby Blotzer and Kelly Gray and Glenn Drover and whatnot. How are these two projects different now? I mean, how is a Geoff Tate solo record going to be different from a band that's basically has no history with Queensryche, with the exception of you?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when the judge made the decision about both parties being able to use Queensryche as a name, I thought, well, this is a wonderful opportunity for me. I can put together a band of people that I really respect musically, guys that can really play, who are strong players and singers, and so I went after that. I wanted to have strong players. I wanted to play all the music live and not use a computer or backing tracks or anything like that to, cover up people's inabilities,
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted it to be a real band, playing music together. And secondly, I wanted it to be a band of people who I actually liked,
Okay.
and we got along, and there was a real positive, creative environment, surrounding the project. Now, Rudy and Bobby and I have been talking about making an album or making some music for years, way back in the early 80s when we met. We got along and became friends. And so I was very pleased when they said they'd move anything around and change their calendars up in order to do this, because it's something we've been wanting to do for years,
Sure.
Glenn, I came at him as a fan. I'm a huge Glenn Drover fan.
Okay.
I love his guitar style, the way he plays. He's this really liquid, smooth, fluid player,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, putting him together with Kelly is going to be so interesting, because Kelly, he comes from the complete opposite, school. He picks a fight with that guitar every time he picks it up,
Sure.
And he has this completely bombastic, kind of like a tank moving through a city kind of vibe when he plays,
Right.
And I thought putting those two together musically would be real interesting. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We start rehearsals in January, and
Okay.
we're talking about writing some songs as well. So we'll see what happens.
With the state of the music business as it is, I mean, are you going to continue the logical path of doing work up songs, do an album tour, etc., or are you going to maybe, since everything's different anyway, maybe try a new approach, maybe release 2 singles and that's it for a while, and then tour on that and see where the interest is before you go forward, or what is your thought at this point?
Well, I don't know, honestly. I know first and foremost we're going to go out and tour.
Okay.
And we're going to be presenting Queensryche music. That's our first endeavor. And I'm hoping, just through knowing all these guys, there's several strong writers in the group, and I'm thinking that perhaps when we all get in the same room, that the ideas will start flowing, and we'll get some original music out of this group of people, which I think would be fantastic. I'd love for that to be, but you never know till you get in the same room and try and see what happens.
Sure.
Chemistry is a mysterious thing. You don't necessarily have it with everyone.
Absolutely. Definitely. Well, let me ask you one hard one, Geoff, and let me set this one up before I ask it, because I want to get a real straight shooter answer from you, as you always give. So for me personally, and it's something I've said on the air, so I don't want it to seem like I don't want to give you that, well, a fan said this type thing. It's something I've personally said. I am very surprised that you personally are going out with a second version of Queensryche. And the reason I say that is because throughout the history of the band and my personal history interviewing you, as you and I talked off air, I've interviewed you 13 different times. You've always been one of those guys that kind of elevated your projects above the standard fare. And to see Queensryche being in the same boat as like the Warrants and the Great Whites and the Rats, where there were multiple versions of the band, in a way seems a little beneath you. So I'll ask you to comment on, do you feel, is this just a business thing, or do you really feel that what you're going to bring out as Queensryche is the true Queensryche versus what the other guys are doing?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chris. It's kind of tough to answer. I truly believe that my vision of Queensryche has what has propelled the band for many, many, many years. Now, when Chris was in the band, we shared a common vision together, and we were a very strong writing team and a very strong musical team, directing the band and pushing in a certain direction, that kind of thing. Now, when he left, there wasn't anybody but me to do that.
Okay.
And so I've led the band and pushed and pulled and cajoled and bribed and tried to get everyone on the same page for all these years to, keep the integrity of the band, intact, and to keep moving ahead with our vision, for what the band was, which was no limits. Let's not put a box around ourselves. Let's not, give in to some category that somebody assigns us. Let's not be who other people think we should be. Let's be what we are, And that's the motto I've always followed with the band, And I was instrumental in building this band all these years. This band is mine.
Sure.
I built this thing. All those songs, a majority of them are my thoughts, my ideas, my creativity, my passion, And who other than to sing those songs but me,
right?
And so I am taking Queensryche on the road this next year for that reason, and that reason is the main reason is that I don't know what else I can do. It's me, it's my music, it's my words, it's my dreams, my passions, and especially Operation Mindcrime, that is my baby and
sure.
my work, and I'm going to go out and present that in the best way that I can.
Sure, absolutely.
Hey, metalheads, tired of that halftime snooze fest? The one where they shove anti-American social justice lectures down your throat while Bad Bunny prances around? Yeah, us too. Forget that woke garbage. Flip the channel right now. We're going live at halftime Sunday, February the 8th, 8 p.m. to 8:30-ish Eastern Time. Neely and Chris, uncensored, no holds barred, pure CMS debauchery. Real rock, real talk, real freedom. No filters and no fucking apologies. Stream it live on Rumble, Locals, Substack, and X. Just switch over from the game, ditch the bullshit, and join the party. The Classic Metal Show halftime show, because metal doesn't kneel, motherfucker.
Well, Geoff, I know you're limited on time here, so why don't we wrap this up? Why don't you tell people where they can go to find out both about the new album, the new solo album, Kings and Thieves, as well as where they can get information on Queensryche going forward?
Everything is on GeoffTate.com. All the latest information, tour dates, all that good stuff. There's a new lyric video for Dark Money that's raging right now. It's got like 26,000 views in like 4 days, which is phenomenal.
Excellent.
So I'm very happy about that. And, looking forward to the upcoming tour, which my solo tour starts on the 17th of October in New Jersey. So I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, Geoff, we're going to end the interview with the song Dark Money. We're going to go ahead and play that so people can give it a listen. What would you like people to know about that song?
Let's see. Well, Dark Money is a song that is really about questioning. It's a song that talks about political action committees and the millions and millions of dollars that are being spent by very wealthy corporations and also very wealthy individuals in order to influence elections and legislation, really. The song doesn't pick a side or have an agenda for any certain candidate or any sort of movement other than bringing the situation to people's attention and hopefully inspiring discussion.
Excellent. Well, let's check it out. This is Dark Money.
Get more metal in your inbox. The Classic Metal Show is on Substack. Listen or watch for free or subscribe for VIP exclusive content. Find us at cmspn.substack.com.